Do you think it's a coincidence that your heart is preparing for no reason? That you feel a change is approaching, without proof, without clues, just this strange certainty? What if Allah was sending you a silent message right now to tell you someone is coming? Not in years, not when you expect it, but soon, and for one thing only, to propose to you sincerely. Wait, before moving on, listen carefully. Because what you're experiencing now, what you feel in your heart, could very well be the divine confirmation you've been waiting for your whole life. Allah may have already chosen someone for you, and they may be on their way. In this video, we'll explore the invisible signs, the strange feelings, and those moments when everything changes, without anyone around you understanding why. Stay until the end. This isn't a love story, it's a divine call. 1. The heart silently questions itself. Allah whispers to the soul. There are nights when your heart becomes noisy without saying a word. No one looks at you, no one speaks to you, but your soul is no longer silent. It drums gently inside, as if it knows something is approaching. No panic, no fear. Just this inexplicable vibration, like a caress of destiny you cannot name. You lie down in the silence of your room, and for no reason you feel a sacred weight. Not the weight of waiting, but the weight of announcing. Perhaps something is being announced to you, not through words, not in dreams, but directly in that place that only Allah knows. The secret of your heart. Why do you feel this way now? You haven't done anything special. You haven't even invoked this today. And yet, this certainty grows gently within you, as if an invisible part of the sky had just brushed against you, as if your heart had heard what your ears cannot grasp. It's not an illusion. It's not a whim. It's an intimate sign, a perception reserved for those who are ready to receive what the invisible has long kept for them. You watch others get engaged, post photos, take their vows, and you smile, you say, MashaAllah, but your heart lowers its gaze slightly, not out of jealousy, but because it's still waiting for that moment when it will be your name that will be spoken with intention, your heart that will be sought to be understood, your soul, which we will come to protect. And that's when you understand you're not inventing something. It's not just a desire to fill a void. It's your soul reacting to an impending decree. Allah sometimes awakens the heart before things are even visible. He makes you feel before He explains. Because some answers don't need proof, they just need a listening heart. And perhaps what you're feeling right now, this gentle buzzing in your chest, this feeling that something sacred is coming towards you, it wasn't you who created it. Perhaps it's Allah sending you peace even before His promise arrives. You don't know who, you don't know how, you don't know when. But you feel very deeply that this time it's not a mirage, it's not a test. Perhaps it's the beginning of the shift, the beat that precedes the encounter, the light that announces that a chosen heart is slowly moving towards you. And you feel that it won't just be a presence, it will be a sincere intention, a request, a commitment. 2. A soul witnessing divine timing. When you stop searching, Allah sends you what you no longer expected. Her name was Layla. She no longer expected anything. Or rather, she had learned to stop chasing what eludes. Every night, her heart offered prayers, not to be desired, but to be enlightened. She wanted to understand what Allah expected of her, not what people expected of her, not what those around her wanted to see happen. She had already seen the illusions. She had tasted the dotted promises, the conversations that began with fervor and ended in oblivion. She had seen attachment born without faith, and faith abandoned for a mere thrill. So she stopped everything. The messages, the fleeting hopes, the discussions that never had any intention. She emptied her heart to fill it with what mattered: peace. And it was when she was no longer expecting anything that something came knocking. Literally. One evening, without warning, when the sky was peaceful and her thoughts were turned towards eternity, there was a knock at her door. A man, simple, determined, silently aligned. He had never seen Layla. He knew nothing about her life. But he knew what her heart had felt after the prayer. He said, "I know this may seem strange, but I performed istikhara, and after that, my heart drew me to this address. I am here not to talk, but to propose something serious, something pure." Layla looked at him without understanding. But her tears understood before she did, because her heart knew it wasn't a man striking, it was Allah's decree manifesting itself. It wasn't the result of human effort, it was the reflection of divine will. And this kind of story, you think it only happens in ancient tales, embellished tales, accounts too good to be true. But no. Allah has never stopped writing scenarios that no one can guess. He acts in silence, while you think everything is still, while you doubt, while you heal, while you withdraw. He places the pieces, he inspires hearts, and he brings together what must be there at the perfect moment. And perhaps this story wasn't someone else's. Perhaps it's being written behind the scenes of your own life. You don't see it yet. But somewhere, perhaps a heart has already been directed towards you. Perhaps steps are already moving discreetly in your direction, not to distract you, but to offer you what you thought was lost. And without knowing it, without you yet being ready to believe it, perhaps you are just a few moments away from that moment when someone will come knocking, not at your door, but at the peace of your heart.
3. When waiting becomes a form of faith. What if the void wasn't a lack, but a divine preparation? There are days when even your prayers seem to no longer resonate. You speak to Allah, you cry, you remain in prostration for a long time. But your heart returns heavy. You ask yourself, am I hoping or just exhausting myself? And this question haunts you because you haven't stopped believing, but believing has cost you dearly. There were seasons when you thought it was the time. Everything seemed aligned. You felt an unusual peace. You saw signs everywhere. And then suddenly, everything collapsed. Silence, emptiness, retreat. But have you ever considered that this silence was a divine language? That this emptiness was a response? That this retreat was actually a recovery? Allah is never absent, but He forms, He refines, He cleanses. You know, sometimes He prevents you from loving too soon, so that your heart learns to love Him first. Sometimes He takes you away from a person, not because they're not good, but because you weren't ready to love properly yet. He left you alone, yes, but not to punish you. It was a silent school, a secret place, in which He poured lessons upon you that no one else saw. While you thought you were abandoned, you were being spiritually prepared. Look at yourself now. You don't react the same way you used to. Your heart has more discernment. You know your worth better. You sense what is healthy. You reject what is lukewarm. And all this is the fruit of this long wait. Never minimize what it has produced in you, because the one Allah has destined for you will not come to fill a void, but to add to your already present peace. And that requires a strong soul, not perfect, but turned towards Him. So no, you weren't on a break. You were evolving within. It's now that you are no longer emotionally dependent. Now that you are no longer looking for an escape. Don't be surprised if the story begins without warning. Not with fiery words, but with clear intentions. Not with games, but with a soft, calm, sincere light. And that day, your heart will understand that what you thought was a delay was actually the perfect signature of divine timing. 4. When the world begins to speak in the language of silence, there are days when you ask for nothing, but the world around you begins to answer you. Not with words, not with spectacular dreams, not with clear apparitions, but with signs, details so fine that only those who watch with their hearts can perceive them. You hear a name come up again and again. You hear it in a video, in a conversation between strangers, in a surah recited next to you. And this name isn't empty. It carries a feeling, as if a presence slips gently into your story without a sound. You meet a couple who stand out not for their beauty, but for the peace they exude. And seeing them, something inside you calms down. You don't envy them, you don't feel the lack, you feel a possibility, as if Allah was saying to you, you too will taste it, but stay aligned. There are even moments when, during your dhikr, your heart opens without explanation. You don't think of anyone in particular. You think of the love that builds, the love that makes one more humble, more gentle, more true. And you ask yourself, does this desire come from me? Or is Allah preparing me for something? These are not illusions. These are subtle keys, sent to those who ask, not just for a person, but for heavenly guidance. Allah speaks to those who remain silent. He shows to those who close their eyes. He guides through chance. Because for spiritual souls, there are no more coincidences. A word becomes a message. A silence becomes a teaching. A name becomes a vibration. And what you called little signs were in reality threads woven from the heavens to bring your heart to understanding before your eyes even see. When Allah wants to unite you with someone, He doesn't begin with the encounter. He begins with inner rectification. He redirects your gaze, He purifies your intention. He makes you hear, see, feel, without you being able to explain everything. And that's when the miracle happens. What was vague becomes clear. What was distant becomes closer. And sometimes, the person you'd only ever briefly considered, the one you thought was unattainable or unreal, starts walking towards you, not loudly, but with modesty, clarity, and light. 5. What if you were ready without knowing it? The heart facing the real questions. What if, all this time, you've been waiting for the wrong thing? What if it wasn't, when will he or she come, that you should be asking yourself? But am I really ready to receive what I say I want? What if it wasn't destiny that was slow, but your heart that was slow to open completely to Allah's will? It is easier to wait than to be available. Easier to pray than to transform. But when Allah prepares a union, He never rushes things to satisfy an impatient heart. He adjusts trajectories. He refines souls. And He waits until the moment is perfect according to Him, not according to you. So ask yourself these real questions. Questions that few dare to truly face. Are you waiting for love to come and save you? Or are you already building yourself so that you can love instability? Are you looking for someone to validate you, to fill a void, to heal your wounds? Or someone with whom to walk towards Allah side by side in Sakina? Are you truly ready to receive a pure, sincere, aligned person. If you still carry attachments that haven't been cleansed, if your heart is still occupied by the shadows of stories that weren't meant to last, have you abandoned the when to embrace the how will I become worthy of what I ask for? You think you're waiting, but maybe it's Allah who's waiting for you. Perhaps He's looking at you with love, with gentleness, saying inwardly, I have already written this person to you. I have already guided them to you. But I will not send them to you as long as you risk seeing them as a relief, instead of recognizing them as a divine responsibility. What if the brother or sister who is to come into your life is already being held back? Not because destiny is blocking it, but because the wisdom of Allah protects this relationship by delaying it until both hearts are ready to recognize each other. This is not waiting, this is a heavenly adjustment. Allah never gives a gift that would destroy you, so He withholds. He pushes back, He reconfigures. And when your heart becomes sincere, solid, humble, what you asked for with tears begins to approach in silence. Not as a surprise, but as an answer you always suspected. It's no longer an illusion. It's no longer a fantasy. It's just a matter of timing, and that timing may be unleashing itself at this very moment. You know it now. What you're feeling isn't an illusion. It's not a coincidence. It may be the echo of a promise from Allah that is about to be fulfilled. And if this video has reached you, it's not to entertain you. It's to wake you up. So don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone who's also waiting in silence. Subscribe if you want more reminders aligned with your heart and your path. Comment below. I'm preparing for what Allah has already written to me. And above all, open your heart, because what happens will be more beautiful than you imagine.